All right, I haven't seen this clip at all, but judging from the title, uh, is going to be very interesting. So let's get into it.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Megan Kelly, and we begin today with the question of whether transgender high school girls should be allowed to race on high school girls' track teams. It is happening in various states across the country, including Connecticut, where two transgender girls are burning up the track, winning a lot of races. And some parents are complaining, saying it is not a level playing field, and they want a statewide change in the rules. For more on this and other headlines making the rounds today, joining me now, NBC's Craig Melvin, Cynthia McFadden.
Okay, first, how do we get here? How do we get to a point to where we say, okay, simply if you're a guy in a wig, you get to just completely ignore like reality? How do we get to this point? Because I don't care who, unless you can literally tell me a conspiracy theory of gay people owning everything, I don't understand how any of this can even slip through any crack at all.
And Amy Holmes is here as well, co-host of PBS's In Principle. Hello. Thank you, sir. Hi there. How's it going? Great to have you here. So this is something that we're dealing with as a country, as a society, as we see more and more students identifying and openly identifying as transgender girls or transgender boys. And just for the audience at home to clear up the terminology, if you're a transgender girl, it means that you were assigned male at birth, that you were, people say born a boy. The transgender community prefers assigned male at birth. And so these are kids who were sort of raised as boys and then identified as girls and have decided to embrace that, and they are transgender girls. So transgender girl, girls racing in track on the girls' team and winning. And in Connecticut, these parents have said it's not fair because they think they have an advantage, that physical advantage over, it's called cis girls, like cisgender. Forgive me because we're still getting up to speed, but cisgender is, if you're a cisgender girl, it means you were born a girl, you identify as girl, you've been a girl the whole time.
I hate that word cis, but this is actually quite a bit of an interesting dilemma with everybody in America, honestly, is because women are, they say they're equal to men and can do everything men can do, etc. So that allowed for something like this, in my opinion, to happen. Because if there's no such thing as a difference, if there's no such thing as what men can do and what women can do, then you have to ask, why would this even matter? Why would they say it's not equal or level playing field if everybody's equal? It's those two factors make this very interesting.
Yeah. Everybody agrees you're a girl. Forgive me because it's always dicey. You don't want to offend anybody, but I think I've gotten it right. Sure. So, what do you think?
I think it is unfair. And I think in fairness, that's why we have gender segregated sports. So if you have someone who is biologically male, transitioning and running against girls, there is a physical advantage. There's a testosterone advantage. And in this case, these two students, transgendered girls, they're winning first and second in races that knocks out other girls who were also competing that don't get to go to state, that may not have access to sports scholarships. So I think when we're talking about contests of physicality, athleticism, that there are real gender differences, biological gender differences that advantage males over females in certain contexts. Another example, would you put Michael Phelps in the pool swimming against Katie Ledecky? No, you wouldn't. You would know that there is a biological advantage there that I think is pretty obvious.
Katie Ledecky.
Katie Ledecky, pardon me. Although Katie Ledecky would probably tell you she could give Michael Phelps a run. But,
maybe.
But it's also, I think it should be noted in this Connecticut case as well, just a month prior, one of these racers was racing as a boy.
Yeah. Right, on the boys' team.
Yeah, so and it may have been 2 months, but not more than that. So, I don't know, Megan. This is a complicated question, but I do think, as you said off the top, this is going to become one of the...
I don't see what's complicated about it. There's boys sports and then there's girls sports, male, female. You can't allow people to ignore reality, and it's not being a bigot, it's not being biased, it's not being a homophobe or whatever other word they want to call it. Is simply reality and common sense. You can't, and I'm actually going to visit a clip later from Twitter, but they really feel like simply you deciding you're going to trans, that actually just makes you the opposite sex. Is That's a real idea in their community.
Questions of our time as this becomes more prevalent in school districts all over this country.
I think there's a myth of an even playing field. I really respectfully disagree. There are all kinds of reasons that people have advantages. Somebody's parents can give them year-round training. Somebody else is really, really tall and someone's really, really short. I mean, there's no such thing as a level playing field. You are the gender you identify with. That's the rule in Connecticut.
And even the folks in Connecticut who are complaining have no problem with that. These are not people saying we reject transgender students. They're saying, but when it comes to this issue, that they think there's an unfair advantage.
So I guess I wish we could all have the attitude of the young woman who came in third. And here's what she says. To be honest, I think it's great they get a chance to compete. And as long as they're happy, I guess there's not much I can do. She continues. The rules are the rules. The only competition is the clock. You can only run as fast as you can. And I hope that we're getting to live in a world in which young people, all of us, get to articulate who we feel we are. I have covered this story for years.
I don't think we have to reject.
What the hell does that even mean? I understood nothing that she said there. We all should get a chance to articulate who we are. Is that a reference to if you feel like you're the opposite? Why does that only pertain to people who feel like they're in the wrong sex? Why? Why does that pertain to nothing else? And people always think that you're making fun of when you say, well, what if I think I'm a child? But it's a real question. Why can't I pretend or say that I'm something else when I feel like that? Why do transgender people are the only people who can use this idea? That's not a level playing field.
That I don't think there's not a binary choice that if you are conflicted on this issue, you're against transgender people.
And in fact, but you're against them being able to hold it. You are against them being able to compete as the gender that they identify.
Well, I think they're wrestling with how to handle it sensitively to all people involved.
Well, the Connecticut rules are established.
And if I could add, I actually interviewed a transgendered person for my PBS show.
The rules being established don't make the rules right. People vote those in. It's really those laws. We often mistake them for just simply meaning that something's right, but those are voted in and out by people, and who's ever behind what's ever popular at the time is what people will put into place. It's been proven time again.
We talked about the case in Connecticut, and she said that she thought it was unfair if this student has not been taking hormones, isn't going through transition.
Because let's talk about the hormones.
Well, there's a problem.
Because what happens at the NCAA level, right, at the college level, is they say that you male to female transgender, that you need to have been doing hormone therapy for at least a year because the testosterone levels, they think, at that level need to come down to make it more even, because a lot of testosterone that's where guys get their big muscles from, and they get their body strength. That's where you get it from.
And weightlifting and working out, of course.
Anyway, so they think once it sort of gets to levels that make them,
but fair
physically.
Enough, but you can't. But here's the problem: if you're a kid, those are adults. Okay, if you're a kid, you don't have that option in many circumstances.
Right.
In many states, you can't begin that until you're over 16.
I think Connecticut may be one of them.
They are.
Right.
But I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying in terms of everyone being at some sort of disadvantage. Are you saying that boys and girls at the age of 14 or 15 are the same physically?
No, what I'm saying, though, although a lot of doctors say that some boys mature faster in terms of their physicality and some girls mature faster, and, in the wonderful research packet provided by your producers.
So what? Are you really going to sit here and try to make the case that, there are a lot of high school girls who are stronger than high school boys. Are you really going to make that case? Because you can't. It on just about every level, men are typically stronger than women, generally speaking. So, what could you possibly say to make any sense of that?
There are a lot of references, including a Yale physician who says, it's just a myth that all boys are stronger and faster than all girls.
But we're not talking.
Nobody said all. Nobody says all. Everybody knows there is exceptions to the rule. Only in cases like this do you sit there and try to make it as nobody understands that there are exceptions.
To prove that, a young woman in Connecticut won the 500.
Right.
She won the 500.
Right.
Competing
Go ahead,
against.
Amy.
Yeah. However, I think if we were to take the logical conclusion is that we should never have gender segregated sports, that we don't recognize that
There are some pushing for that.
There are physical differences, that we should have LeBron James playing in the WNBA. I think a lot of people say that doesn't really make sense.
He might win a championship there.
Don't.
I don't think that's what anybody is saying, and I think that's an absurd.
You're wrong.
What do you think?
You are wrong. There are some who are pushing, especially transgender rights advocates, who are saying we should get rid of gender assignments when it comes to sports, and that there should just be a football team. Now, let me finish. That there should just be a football team, and shouldn't be like a guys' football team. There should just be track, boys and girls track, and the top 30 make it and the next 30 don't.
And a lot of people say that
and a lot of people say, well, that's going to lead to no more girls athletics because the boys are going to have an advantage.
And the whole point of Title IX, which created the federal requirement to have girls' sports. Now,
I'm a little late, but to jump in, that's what a lot of people who support this movement don't understand. They want this so badly that they literally put laws in place or make arguments that go against everything that they fight for in the first place. You want there to be really no gender. You want to be no such thing as boy and girls, but you're literally going to push women out of things. And some of the people, because they took those hormones, what's going to happen to them from male to female? They're going to start losing. And then you're going to make the argument that, well, they aren't in this and they aren't in that. Well, the law you fought to get in place eliminated them for achieving that. You're literally, well, not literally, but you're shooting yourself in the foot with some of these ideas.
Schools recognize girls' athleticism and competition in sport was to do this, to recognize and create sports programs for girls, because before that it was all for boys.
Listen, I think that to me it's a provocative and interesting conversation. My hope in raising it on the show is that we can have a conversation that is enlightened and kind and respectful to everyone involved, without, I think everyone needs to be tolerant of the other in having this kind of talk, because society is just getting used to this and trying, I think, earnestly to struggle and be respectful. So thank you for being part of that. Great to see you all. We'll be right back.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for...
Okay, so this is the post that I was looking for, but I can't find exactly the comment that I wanted to take a look at. But basically, this person, if you read it, asks the question, is a transgender woman a woman? Now, if you even have to ask that question, kind of by default, no, because when you ever just ask as a woman, so I think that right there says no. But the problem with questions like this is if you really are going to say that that trans women are women and trans men are men, you really are. They don't see as disrespectful to men and women as it is. Like, if you can't tell me that I know what it's like to be a woman, because I don't know anything that they really have to go through physically, and vice versa. So if I was a transition and I would sit there and try to say, oh, I'm a woman, you can't tell me otherwise, you are really, that's, I don't even know how to even describe how disrespectful that is. It's it's terrible. Like, you can't be so into yourself and into your agenda that you are completely oblivious to any problem like that you could be causing. And I understand not wanting, you know, to be assaulted or, discriminated and stuff. Like, I'm not even, of course you want that to happen to anybody. But to really go to try to force everybody else to play along with whatever reality you're instilling in your life is really ridiculous and unfair. People can't even have opinions anymore, or they get called closed-minded and a bigot. Point blank is, you feel like you're something else. Well, you say you do, because again, you don't know what it feels like to be a woman. You know what it feels like to want to be feminine, but you don't know what it feels like to be a woman. If you're open-minded enough to even process that concept. But it's, again, you really, I think you really just disrespect a lot of people when you do this. Now, do we all have to be a little more open, understanding to what other people's points are? Absolutely. But telling us that you are absolutely a woman when you were born like me is ridiculous.